Well, we're beginning a study today on Samson in the book of Judges. And I think many of us come to thinking about Samson as a story we think we know. And we might think we know it because there have been a lot of cultural adaptations of the Samson story, as well as the story in the Bible itself. Probably some of us in Sunday school studied the Samson story, and we remember how strong Samson was. We remember Samson and the lion. We remember Samson and the jawbone of the ass. We remember Samson and Delilah. And yet I think we'll find as we get into the Samson story, and particularly as we look at it in the context of the book of Judges, that there's a lot about Samson we've missed. Another way of looking at Samson is something of a riddle. Why is it at the end of the day he can be held up as an example of faith? John Updike, a great American novelist, referred to Samson as one of those enigmatic brutes of the Old Testament. And he is an enigma in some ways. He's a mystery. What are we to make of him? And unless we can at least a little bit solve the riddle, and that's an appropriate way of talking about Samson because he loved riddles, unless we can solve the riddle, unless we can gain some insight into the enigma, into the hidden message, the secret of Samson, we won't know the right application of what God is really saying to us in this story. I'm going to try to look at this story very carefully, very considerately, and we're going to, I hope, find the right warnings for us about spiritual failures to avoid. We're certainly going to see how this story points us to Christ. One of the things I think the Old Testament over and over and over again says to the people of God is, you need a prophet, but you need a perfect prophet. You need a priest, but you need a perfect priest. You need a king, but you need a perfect king. And a lot of the Old Testament is all about prophets who were pretty good, and some kings who were pretty good, and some priests who were pretty good, but none of them were perfect. But all of them pointed to that perfect prophet, priest, and king who was to come. And the book of Judges says you need a judge, but you really need a perfect judge. And there aren't any perfect judges. And you might say, well, why is this crazy Samson in this story? He does one bad thing after another. It's showing the spiritual decline of Israel, because for most of the book, the judges are better than the people. And God established the office of judge to save the people, deliver the people. But by the time we get to Samson, his life is spiritually indistinguishable from the life of the people. He is Israel. He's not really the Savior of Israel. He is Israel, revealing in his life, in his weakness, in his failure, all of the weaknesses and growing spiritual failures of Israel.